Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Erin Creighton. I am the Adult Services Department Head and Assistant Branch Manager for the Fredericksburg branch of the Central Rappahannock Regional Library. Today, I am very happy to be joined by Madison Morgan. Madison is the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Tri-County City Soil and Water Conservation District, and she is here to, talk to us about what they do and who they are. Thank you so much for coming today, Madison.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and kind of grow, our visibility in the district's kind of knowledge and outreach spectrum, definitely across our region. So got a quick presentation ready to roll with a little bit more information specifically about, how soil and water districts came about. It's super cool history behind all of them that actually started pretty locally. I'm excited to share all that information with you guys. All right, so what are the districts? So soil and water conservation districts were actually established by law, and we'll get into that in a little bit, in the 1930s to develop programs and plans to conserve soil resources, control and prevent soil erosion, prevent floods, and conserve and utilize water resources. They were mostly created in response to the Dust Bowl, and were first known as the Soil Conservation Service. Today, we know them as the Natural Resource Conservation Service, or NRCS. And we do work hand in hand with NRCS with all of our kind of programs and practices. In fact, NRCS, the USDA, actually shares office space with us. So the father of conservation is Dr. Hugh Hammond Bennett. Dr. Bennett is credited with being the father of conservation. His studies date back to 1905, where he looked at soil and the relation between soil erosion and the impact it has on soil quality. So, like I said, he started back in 1905. He's a native of North Carolina, which is actually kind of where the first districts were started. So he did have concern for erosion going back. He and his soil survey partner, Mr. W.E. McLendon, developed a theory of sheet erosion, and that's when the unseen washing away of thin layers of topsoil occur. The soil survey that they actually did this study with took place in Louisa County, Virginia. And it was the beginning of understanding, again, that relationship between soil erosion and its impacts on the soil's quality. In 1930, Dr. Bennett did acquire $160,000 of federal funding, specifically used for soil erosion investigations. And from there, the Soil Erosion Service was established within the Department of the Interior, where Bennett was appointed as the director. So this is where everything gets kind of dark. The Dirty 30s is what it's called. So in December of 1934, the Yearbook of Agriculture actually announced that approximately 35 million acres of cultivated land had pretty much been destroyed for crop production, and 100 million acres in crops have lost all or most of the topsoil that they need to grow. They went on to further say 125 million acres of land now in crops are rapidly losing their topsoil. All this kind of happened due to poor land management practices in the 1930s. We all know strong winds came up, started the Dust Bowl, and huge dust storms across kind of the Midwest region. It's in the 1930s specifically, we found that more than 480 tons of topsoil per acre were removed. And this kind of happened that an average of 5 inches of topsoil from more than 10 million acres was completely wiped out. And just to put that into perspective, the NRCS estimates an inch of topsoil takes 500 to 1,000 years to form. So we got rid of 5 inches during that time. So we can only kind of imagine. I mean, we're still not back to the original topsoil across those regions that we've removed, and we won't see it for quite some time. So in May of 1934, President Roosevelt recognized the need to address the growing problem. The economic climate of the Great Depression led to increased production of agricultural commodities to try to offset the loss in profit. So this went with the greater production of ag commodities. Land management troubles really continued to spiral. And when the biggest drought hit, economic and land management problems were multiplied. pretty much immensely. So this was considered the darkest time of resource conservation and agricultural production, as well as we know, we were going through the Great Depression around this time. So legislation that kind of led to pick it back up happened in 1935. U.S. Public Law 46, the Soil Conservation Act of 1935, ended up being passed. The act established national policy, which was to provide for the protection of land resources against soil erosion and other purposes. This act further endorsed the Soil Erosion Service, or SES, as a federal agency, resulting in a name change to the Soil Conservation Service, or SCS. And eventually, the SCS went on to become a part of the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, and it would again be renamed in the 1990s to the Natural Resource Conservation Service, or NRCS. We really love our acronyms in this kind of industry. There's endless acronyms. It's almost like an alphabet soup. But so going back to that legislation, it's actually super funny, not funny coincidence. I don't know, but perfect timing. So Bennett was actually on the floor in front of Congress advocating for natural resource conservation, and a dust storm swept across the region. It started in the Midwest and picked up and absolutely debilitated Washington, D.C. And the capital region on the day he was in front of Congress advocating for some type of legislation and law and code to come in to help protect our resources. That day, Congress went ahead and began action on legislation to address the erosion problems, focusing on improving farming techniques. In 1936, a Standard State District Act, otherwise known as district law, was developed at the federal level by the USDA. This encouraged citizens of local government to organize conservation districts. So our districts are political subdivisions of the state government. So we're state organizations. And the political subdivision is how we get our elected officials to kind of be our boards. And we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So today, the Soil and Water Conservation District directors are elected on general ballots by their constituents within the district boundaries they serve. Across Virginia, there are 47 districts. In 1938 is when we saw the first district come into the Commonwealth, and it was Tidewater Soil and Water Conservation District, which covered Essex County at the time. Since then, 50 plus years, we've grown to, like I said, the 47 districts across the state. Each pretty much general area has a district that covers it, minus because Virginia and the Commonwealth, we have a bunch of independent cities. Those are operated a little bit differently, but there's 47 districts across the state that cover all our agricultural needs, landowner needs, and we work to manage conservation programs, employ staff, and deliver conservation services free of charge. So since 1980, the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, or DCR, has relied on districts to help deliver programs. So that's actually state code that allows DCR to be kind of our governance. And going back to the beginning, flood protection is one of the things that some districts cover. So DCR has a dam department solely focusing on floodplain safety resources going towards our dams and improving them. So that's a small portion that we don't cover in our district because we don't have any dams. But the difference across the region really stretches, and there's so many vast programs that districts can help cover across the state. So the types of programs that we offer are two main cost share programs. One, VAX, the Virginia Agricultural Cost Share Program. As I'm sure you can tell, that's our agricultural program. So we support various best management practices with conservation planning to treat cropland, pastureland, hayland, and forested land. There are over 60 best management practices. I've just listed a few that are more common within our region. That's going to be cover crops, nutrient management plans, buffer systems, and livestock exclusion systems. This current fiscal year, so FY25, so July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, the state of Virginia allocated $207 million across the 47 districts. So that $207 million is divided by the 47 districts for operating funds. The other cost share program we have is the Virginia Conservation Assistance Program, or VCAP. Sorry, that is our urban conservation program. And we use that to for education, technical advice for landowners. It can be commercial land, residential land, private land. It's for our non-agricultural programs. And they can be installed where issues like erosion, poor drainage, and poor vegetation occur. Some of the practices include conservation landscaping, so meadows, working to bring pollinators back to the area, permeable pavement, living shorelines, rain garden, and rainwater harvesting. To touch on the rainwater harvesting, the district does sell rain barrels, and you can give us a shout if you're interested in purchasing one. But for our rainwater harvesting VCAP project, those are our bigger systems, like our 300 to 600 gallon rainwater harvesting cisterns, compared to our rain barrels. Specifically at Tri-County City, I've talked a lot about kind of the history of districts and, across the state, across the country, specifically us. We cover Stafford, Spotsylvania, King George, and the city of Fredericksburg. Stafford, Spotsy, and King George came about in 1944, and the city of Fredericksburg was added to our coverage area in 1948. In FY24, so this would be previous to the current year we're in, we allocated over $958,000 for our agricultural cost share program. And then for our landowner program, the VCAP, the urban conservation, just over $48,000 for non-agricultural practices. And this year, I know we've already beat those numbers, so I'm happy to be able to report on that, hopefully coming up here at the end of June, and provide some updates with what that looks like now. We also have educational programming. So we work with community groups, producers, schools, and citizens to provide educational opportunities, workshops, tabling events, just questions. We can come out and do assessments and things like that. All our educational programs come at no cost, and it can be kind of diversified to fit the needs of the group. So what kinds of programming? Sorry about that. My little image covered up so it looks like hat kinds. But what kinds of programming do we offer for educational K through 12 learning opportunities? So public school, private school, homeschool, I can go in, do any type of program. We can fit to your curriculum and your SOLs, or we can just have a fun day. Producer walks and workshops. So we actually, back in April, hosted a legislative pasture walk where we took Board of Supervisors, City Council, some state delegates attended, and we got to share kind of boots on the ground effort of practices within a farm in Stafford County. We also do community group workshops and educational series. So we have a rain barrel workshop coming up here soon with Friends of the Rappahannock. And then as well as community gardening groups, we can come out and talk to them about how they can get involved with the district. We also operate at public events like Earth Days, Farm Days, Farmers Markets. And then, like I stated with the Legislative Pasture Walk, we work with Board of Supervisors, school boards, and local governments super close to make sure that we're providing meaningful experiences across our communities and finding out where their needs and wants can meet with kind of district programs and what we can do to help support them further. So, who can you talk to? Our staff, we currently have 6 people on staff. Our district manager is Renee Davis. Christine McLean is our administrative professional. We have 3 conservation specialists on staff, which is Jerry Rao, Teresa Bradford, Jenny Greenlaw, and then me, Madison Morgan. I'm your education outreach coordinator. Our contact information can be found at the bottom as well. Director-wise, we had 10 directors. Right now we're at 1, or we're down 1, so we're at 9. Directors are volunteer elected roles. Each area has 2 directors. So these are people that you see on your ballots. You might go out to dinner with them. They might be your next door neighbor. So you'll see their name on the ballots, or they can serve a write-in campaign coming around with election cycles. Spotsylvania County has Wayne Miller and Jan Massey. Stafford County is John Howe and Daniel Goodale Porter. King George is Janet Gale Harris and Anthony Stapps. The city of Fredericksburg is Chuck Koch, and we're currently seeking a director for the city of Fredericksburg. So if anybody's interested, reach out and we can get you more information and see if it might be a good fit to our program in the district. Our at-large director is Ray Sims, and then our Virginia Cooperative Extension agent on our board is Kaylee Mize, and she is out of the Spotsylvania office. Thank you guys so much for kind of checking out this recording. I'm so happy to share the mission and kind of goals of the district. Thank you.
Madison, that was really fascinating. I had no idea the long history of your organization, and the fact that it runs back to the Dust Bowl totally makes sense when you think about it, but I just had no idea. That was really interesting. What is a rain garden? Can you talk? Because I was really fascinated when you were talking about like the rain barrels and other things. You mentioned a rain garden. What is that?
And
I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I can't hear you at the moment. I think you're frozen.
Oh no, sorry.
Oh, there you are. There you are. You're back. Okay.
There it is. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So the rain gardens are, we hear it a lot with kind of bigger building systems and more development of bioretention ponds. So rain gardens are similar, on a much smaller scale, and they utilize our pollinators a lot more, or utilize helping our pollinators a lot more. So our rain gardens are in the same way as a bioretention helps to mitigate water pooling and staying in one place. Our rain gardens are built to not hold water. I can actually send you some pictures afterwards. I have a 24-hour lapse. A landowner had 5 inches of rain that pooled up in their rain garden and on their land, and they had a huge issue with flooding coming up in their property. With the rain garden, the rainwater actually over a 24-hour course of time was gone from the area.
Wow.
So the rain garden does a really good job of kind of filtering and taking the pooled water through the ground and kind of letting it branch out rather than just
disperse without causing problems. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
That's very cool. Okay, wow. Like I mentioned to Madison before we started this, my favorite part about these presentations is I get to learn
frozen
again every time. That is very cool. Thank you so much. If anybody has any other questions, or if there are teachers or educators watching this, please feel free to contact Madison to learn more about how you can get involved in their organization, or share the information with your students or your community. Thank you so much, Madison. That was fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And as far as educational for our schools and everything, we offer youth conservation camp, scholarship programs, all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm happy to help and kind of direct where some programs might go to fit everybody.
Excellent. And now's the time to start maybe thinking about that for next year. for schools.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.